Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Matt Powers Show. I, of course, am your host, Matt Powers. This is my show, where we get to talk about fun nerd culture things. We get to talk about updates to the world and entertainment and the stuff that's going on, streaming services, video games, comic books, all that jazz. So glad you can join me today, because there was a big announcement yesterday, and I absolutely have to talk about this with you guys. I am super psyched. This is one of the coolest things that I think I've heard in a while, okay? Apparently, WB Animation, Warner Brothers Animation, and Fox Entertainment have teamed up, and they're making a sequel to the Flintstones cartoon, okay? Now, not like they're not gonna reboot it, okay? This is a true sequel, a new cartoon called Bedrock, okay? And it's going to be set 20 years after the Flintstones cartoon with, if you remember, the Flintstones had a baby girl, Pebbles. She's now all grown up, and she's, like, making her way in the world. And it's at the transitional period where the Stone Age was becoming the Bronze Age. This sounds hysterical. Guys, I grew up watching the Flintstones. Now, obviously, it's a lot older than I am, right? I didn't watch it, like, first run or anything. I'm not that old. But it's one of those foundational cartoons that I grew up watching as a kid. Hanna-Barbera stuff was right there at the forefront when I was a kid, you know, teaching me about how not only how cartoons should be made, but kind of replicating sitcoms as cartoons, which is something, you know, Looney Tunes is great, but Looney Tunes never made sitcoms as, you know, as cartoons for kids. The Flintstones was a foundational cartoon for me. And as you know, you can't even say the word Flintstone without thinking of the theme song, right? Like it's ingrained in our culture. The fact that they're looking now to make a sequel to this show, I think, is brilliant. And not just like, well, it's 20 years later and, you know, we're just going to keep doing the same old jokes. Like, no, they're like, no, we're going to change things. This is a transitional period. This is like, we're going into a new world. So there's so much humor that can be found there. So I mean, seriously, there's so much they can mine from that. New story ideas, new characters, new directions that they can go. So the show is being produced by Elizabeth Banks, who I think is an incredible performer. She's a wonderful comedian. I personally I love her as a writer and director as well. You know, Pitch Perfect being one of my guilty pleasure favorite movies, and she's great in that. But she's going to be voicing the character Pebbles for the show, as well as executive producing it, alongside Lindsay Kearns, who, I don't know if you guys have seen Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. If you haven't, you should. It is a little more for kids than adults, but it's this really great, like, secondary story of what was happening in the Jurassic World franchise during that first movie. A bunch of kids trapped in the park. Not the point. Lindsay Kearns is an amazing writer, an amazing producer. These two teaming up is just going to be absolutely golden. Hanna-Barbera needs a comeback. I've been saying this for years. I really think their properties are prime for coming back. I think we need a new Flintstones show. And these kind of changes are going to make it more modern. It's going to make it, they're going to be able to talk about maybe modern problems, you know, but kind of in the way of, look, this happens throughout history, you know, the changing of the world. It'd be cool to see like a sequel to the Jetsons or something, or you know, see a reboot of Scooby. Well, they've done a couple of reboots of Scooby-Doo, and some of them have been really, really good. But anyway, Hanna-Barbera stuff. I'm so excited this is coming back. The Flintstones is one of those shows that I think, for me as a kid, like, introduced me to television. I don't know. It's kind of weird because, like, when you're like 3 and 4, you don't understand what's happening, right? You don't get what media is doing to you. And the Flintstones was teaching me about sitcoms before I got old enough to understand that I love sitcoms. You know, at a young age, I was learning about the beats of a sitcom script. I was learning about how characters, you know, fail, and then they sort of amp up. You know, the second part of it, they have to amp up like the craziness of the scenario to try to get out of trouble. The dynamic between Fred and Barney, those two best friends, you see that in almost everything. I really think they nailed they nailed it when they made the Flintstones. They really did, about how these characters interact together. Now it's old world stuff, right? Looking back on it, if you try to watch the Flintstones today, it's not the same kind of show. It really, like, it's not as nostalgic as you think it is, and some of the storylines, yeah, a little cringeworthy, born out of a time when some things were okay, and today they're really not. But still, I think it holds up. Now, I will say this too. They did announce that all of the Flintstones will be coming to Fox's, what do they call it? Their premier free streaming service, which is called Tubi. I had never heard of it, but apparently Tubi is something that they're really trying to make a presence in the streaming market. So having the Flintstones on there, yeah, that might do it. That might actually give us some content, some weight to that streaming service, and give us a reason to try it out. Hopefully, it's a free service with some ads. I mean, I don't mind. I do that with YouTube. I do that with Peacock. I don't want to pay for something that just put a couple ads before the show, and I'm fine. But anyway, it'd be nice to go back and rewatch the old Flintstone show, even the goofy stuff, I know my friend Taylor really loves the little what was the guy, the little Martian that shows up, and okay, yeah, it's kind of silly, but it's fun. It's fun. It's fun to watch, and it's funny, and hey, dum dum. So anyway, yep. Looks like this stuff's going to be coming pretty soon. They've been working on it since 2019, and we don't have a release date yet. I don't expect to see it probably until next year, or maybe fall this year. It might be pushing it, but maybe fall this year. It's still early enough in the year. An announcement like this could be for fall next year. So we'll definitely keep you updated when that stuff comes out, whenever they have more to say about it. Guys, I'm just really excited about this. I hope you are too. Let me know what you think about this. Did you grow up with the Flintstones like I did? Do you look back on it fondly like I do? Or do you look at it thinking, wow, this was zeitgeist of the 1950s and not necessarily representative of today? Let me know in the comments below. Send me an email, davidcampproductions@gmail.com. Let me know what you think about it. And we'll get back together again when we have some more news on this. Thanks for joining me today, guys. And as always, nerd out.
Through the vortex.